Hi and welcome to another episode of Toby's Barbecue Corner. Today we're making Vienna Schnitzel, Vienna style, fried potatoes and Granny's cucumber salad. Now what you need for it and how to do it, I'm going to show you in this episode. And this is what we need for today. Now, obviously we need cucumber, we need some pepper, we need some good white wine vinegar, we need some eggs, we need some salt and sugar, we need some bacon, we need some flour, we need some breadcrumbs, which I made myself, we need some cleared butter, we need some cream, we need some fresh dill, some fresh parsley, we need a bio lemon, we need an onion, we need a couple of shallots, and we need a potato. Just kidding. We obviously need more than one potato, but I'm going to show you what to do with them when we actually get to the point. And we need schnitzel. Now, as you can tell, there are two different types. This is pork and this is veal. That's why this is the Vienna Schnitzel and this will be the Schnitzel Vienna style. Now, the difference is Vienna Schnitzel can only be made with veal. Now, any other schnitzel has to be named Vienna style. Now, a schnitzel, in all fairness, is basically just a piece of meat that you that you cut up in a very thin manner and then you fry up in a pan. So anything can be a schnitzel, but the Vienna Schnitzel can only be made of veal. Alright, let's start with the cucumber. Now what you want to do is, obviously you have the top end, you have the bottom end, and all the bitter parts of the cucumber is in this part. So when you peel it, what you want to do is you want to go from tip to toe, so to speak. Because if you go the other way around, you would have all these bitterness that will eventually seep down because it's being transported by the peeler that you're using. So don't do that. So as I said, I recommend you just going from the tip down to the heel or to the bottom of it. And then what you want to do is you just want to cut it up as fine as possible, and by all means, you know, use one of those kitchen devices that just makes your life a lot easier. All cut up. Now we're going to season with nice coarse salt. Quite a bit of white sugar, simply because it will offset the vinegar that we're going to put in later on, as well as a little bit of fresh black pepper. Alright, and then we're going to give that a good mix. Make sure it's coated nicely everywhere, and then we're going to set it to the side for a couple of minutes while we take care of the shallots and let some of that moisture that obviously the cucumber has draw out. Now the shallot is obviously the little finer sister of the onion, and because we're eating it raw, I recommend that you use a shallot instead of a real onion, just because it's a bit finer and it won't be as pungent when it comes to the flavor content later on. So let's just quickly peel it, and then let's dice it as fine as we can, because obviously the larger the chunks, the more different, so to speak, the eating experience is. So whatever you do, take your time, you know, and go as fine as you can without obviously cutting into your fingers. And while we're at it, let's cut up the dill. Now, there's a few stories about dill. Supposedly it protects from evil. So if you hang it over your hallway or over your door, it will protect you from evil. If you put it in bath water, it will make you more sexy. So I guess I'm going to try that tonight. And apparently in olden days, brides would put it in their shoes, and then when they showed up for their wedding, it would basically mean that the husband was under their foot, so to speak. So there's a little saying that goes pretty much like, if I have mustard and dill, my husband is at my will. So I don't know, I find that is a bit mean, but I guess that's how the old stories go. So all you need to do, basically, you just bunch it up a little bit, you know, and you chop it up fine, and then we're going to throw it in with the cucumber and the shallot in a little while. So the shallots and the dill are done, and the cucumber has rested a few minutes, and I don't know if you can tell, but there is already a little bit of water or fluids accumulating down here. Now what we want to do is we want to drain that real quick, because obviously when we use The cream, we don't want the cream to be too diluted. Right, all drained, so in we go with the dill, as well as the shallots, and no cucumber salad without shallots. They are just absolutely lovely and fantastic for it. All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to add in some of that cream and a little bit of white wine vinegar. Now, just be careful with it. You can always put more in, you cannot take out, and obviously go for a good quality one. You will definitely feel that. And then just give that a bit of a mix. Make sure the dill as well as the shallots mix nicely with the rest. And then we're going to set that to the side until we need it later on to serve it. Do you remember what I said earlier about the one potato that I had? Of course I didn't. I had 12 potatoes. Now what I did is I already pre-cooked them and let them cool down. Now you can do this a couple of hours prior. The best is if you do it the day before, just simply because then all the starch that's inside will kind of like render out, so to speak, and you don't have a mush when you cut them up, but you will have nice little slices. So what you want to do is you would take a small knife and you just cut individual slices. Now obviously the thinner you cut them, the quicker they will cook. So I go for about ½ centimeter thick. That should do it. So that will give us enough time to take care of our various schnitzels that we're making today before they start to brown too quickly and then get black. Let's quickly take care of the onion. Obviously the onion is going to go in with our bacon. So all we're going to do is we're going to peel it and then we're going to just dice it up. And that's all we need to do with it. So very quick and simple. Just like that. And last but not least, let's take care of the parsley. Now obviously you want to get rid of most of the stems because they're rather bitter, and then you just chop it up a little bit so we can throw it later on in with the bacon and the onion. The pan on the side cooker is getting nice and hot, so we're going to throw in the onions as well as the bacon and give that some color and a little bit of a sear for just a couple of minutes. And yes, I know it's a lot of bacon, but I think, you know, fried potatoes without bacon just doesn't work. A couple of minutes later, everything is getting some good color. Now what you could obviously try to do is just throw in your potatoes and be happy because you get all that lovely bacon fat into the potatoes. But in all fairness, don't do it. Simply because the bacon will turn really crispy, the onions will be non-existent or charcoal. So what you want to do is you want to take it off and remove it altogether from the pan. And in addition, take some kitchen towel and really wipe down the pan because you don't want any of these remnants left in there because they will turn bitter. So really take care of that. In the next step, we're going to throw some cleared butter into here, into the pan. Now obviously you can use oil as well, but oil doesn't have as high of a cooking point as cleared butter. So you want to use cleared butter almost to the point where it starts to smoke. And then we're going to throw in our potatoes. And now let's throw them in and make sure you spread them apart. Try to give as much surface space to each individual potato as possible, or potato slice, and then just leave them be. Right, it's time to take care of the schnitzels. Now this is the veal, this is the pork, and what you need is a little hammer. Now you can obviously also use a big pan, you know, but this is really good if you have marital problems, so you can really let go. And what you want to do is you want to flatten those schnitzels just a little bit more. Obviously a schnitzel is a very flat piece of meat, so have them cut thin from your butcher if you can, but give them a bit of a pounding as well. It will not hurt. And you may have noticed I've put them in clear film. Now obviously this is to protect the cutting board, as well as make sure that we don't have anything else that goes onto the meat. Right, let's season it a little bit. Obviously make sure you take off the cling film prior to that. And I like to season it prior to actually putting it in the flour, etc., because then I can really give it the dose that I want. Now some people prefer to season the flour, some season the eggs. It's really up to you. Right, so flour, eggs, and our homemade breadcrumbs. Now what you want to do is you want to put in a little bit of that cream into the eggs. I find it helps stick much better to the meat afterwards. But again, that might be just a personal preference. But yeah, so that is an optional point, so to speak. And then what you want to do is you want to take your piece of veal or pork or whatever schnitzel you want to use, and you know, put it into the flour. Make sure you coat it nicely. You know, it needs to be coated everywhere. So you may have to move it about just a little bit extra. You know, obviously if you have extra flour, just shake it off a little bit, then into the egg. Make sure it's nicely coated everywhere. Again, whatever is too much, let that drip off. So this is quite a, yeah, you get your hands dirty kind of task, so to speak. And then into our breadcrumbs. Now the key to the breadcrumbs is don't dab them on too hard, you know, make sure you just loosely sprinkle them on top and then give them a little bit of a dab. But because if you do it too hard, it will not come up and rise, and that's what we're looking for, as in the breadcrumbs will not rise. Let's do the same thing with our pork schnitzel. Now obviously that is a little bit easier just simply because it's not as big as the veal, but in terms of the setup it's exactly the same. So season it from all sides, or from both sides technically, because you won't be able to season the sides, they're too thin. Now I know that some people say, oh, you have to have 3 to 4 millimeters thick. Now I find that really difficult to gauge. Now I just like to flatten it a little bit and then season it and call it a day. There we go. Into the flour, and as you can tell, that is a lot easier. As I said, make sure you get the flour everywhere. Any additional flour, let it come off, then into the egg. Make sure it's nicely coated. Any excess, let it drip off, don't wipe it off. You know, obviously you don't want to loosen or to lose any of this, of the flour that's on there, and then into the breadcrumbs. Make sure you coat that nicely as well. Right, the potatoes are getting some good color, so time to take care of the schnitzels we've just prepared. So I put a large skillet in there. Now go large, because obviously you need quite a bit of space. And then we're going to throw in some of that butares as well, because we need some very high heat. Let that melt. And then it's schnitzel time. Right, the pan is nice and hot, so what we're going to do now is we're going to insert our first schnitzel, and you always want to move away from your body. And then you're going to make sure, and that's why you need a large pan, obviously make sure that you can constantly move it and really coat it nicely with the cleared butter that's in it, so that the breadcrumbs can really pop. You can also just move it with a spoon, just be very gentle as to not to hurt the breadcrumb crust. But this is how you want to do it. After about 2 minutes, give it a quick flip. And then move it about some more, and then we're going to put it on some kitchen towel, let it rest, and then we're going to serve. The schnitzels are ready, the potatoes are ready, the cucumber salad is ready, so let's plate up, and we're going to start off with Granny's cucumber salad. And I'm going to keep that separate, and now that this has been sitting for about 2 hours, the cucumbers have really taken on some of that flavor of the dill and the shallots. So we're going to place that separately, just like that. And then let's go on to the main attraction. And then we're going to show 2 schnitzels. So that's the veal one. That is the pork. And we're going to add some of those potatoes on it as well. I've already put the bacon as well as the onion into it to get them nice and warm again, but they've gotten some great color. We're gonna throw on some of that parsley right on top, nice and crispy, and then in the end we obviously have to serve it with some lemon. And there you go, guys, this is our Vienna Schnitzel Vienna style fried potatoes as well as Granny's cucumber salad, and we're gonna dig in now. Alright guys, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video about the Vienna Schnitzel Vienna style fried potatoes as well as Granny's cucumber salad. Now, it was super delicious. I still have to experiment a little bit with the breadcrumbs that I used. They weren't as fluffy as I had hoped, but overall it was really a great dish, and I think Granny would have been proud. Now, if you did enjoy the video, I would appreciate a comment and a thumbs up. And please head over to that subscribe button for more great videos to come. And I hope to see you soon again at Toby's Barbecue Corner.